Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Weddleton?
Here.
Mr. Dunbar?
Here.
Ms. Quinn Davidson?
Here.
Ms. LaFrance?
Here.
Mr. Croft?
Here.
Mr. Rivera?
Present.
Mr. Trainee? Here. Mr. Peterson?
Present.
Mr. Constant?
Here.
Ms. Wemhoff?
Here.
Mr. Dyson? Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator Gray Jackson, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair.
I'd like to make a motion to change the order of the day to take up item 18 after item 8, and I can speak to that motion.
Go ahead.
Does someone second that?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Weddleton. After consulting with both the clerk and the chair, I think we can both do the committee reports and then the roasts of the various members leaving at the same time and get that done before we get to the certification of the election. You didn't know that?
Any objection to that change in the order of the day? If not, then we'll have right after committee reports, assembly comments, so right after 7:18. Are there any minutes of previous meetings, Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. Chair.
Mayor's report. Mr. Mayor, any report?
Nothing to report. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under Assembly Chair's report, two quick items. So Mr. Peterson is getting his 5-year pen. Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
That's a thing.
You have the floor if you want it, or you can just take your pen.
Well, I'll make some comments a little later. Thank you.
And then Assembly Chair report, it's just been an absolute honor and a privilege to have served as your chair for the last couple of months. And I think this is an incredible group of people, individually and also kind of collectively in the way we work together. There's a lot of worry about the partisanship at the federal and state level. I saw Facebook post of some various people I know in the state legislature bemoaning how that had gone down. I still think it's somewhat better than the federal. But here, not only individually great people, I like the way this body works together. I like the fact that while we know we have political differences, we don't start with them branded on our foreheads or put. It allows across those differences a conversation that is harder when you start in 2 or 3 camps. So I urge you to do what I've seen you do for the last 3 years. Listen and respect the people. I have to keep reminding myself, for a lot of people, it's an incredibly nerve-wracking experience coming to testify for us. It seems normal to us after a while, but isn't to them. Respect even the people, you know what they're going to say before they say it. And keep on doing what you're doing. I think the city, and both Mayor Berkowitz and this assembly, is in excellent hands, and thank you for the opportunity. Brings us down to to committee reports, and then right after that, assembly comments, and those can be somewhat interchangeable. Mr. Dyson, do you have any committee report?
It's my intention for the next safety committee to have it deal with white-collar crime in our area. I'll keep you posted. But I want to echo your comments, and you and Mr. Trainee and your significant amount of wisdom will be missed. And Gretchen and I have become even closer friends, and I've enjoyed the time serving with her.
Thank you, Senator Dyson. Ms. Wemhoff.
No committee reports, but I ditto, echo, and affirm everything Mr. Dyson just said. It has been a pleasure, and I know I'll get a chance to say something later.
Thank you. Mr. Constant.
Thank you. A few things. we will be having a meeting of the Utilities Enterprise Oversight Committee this Thursday, and we will be having a special assembly meeting next Friday addressing the litigation surrounding the Port of Alaska. And to the end of the meeting that we're having this Thursday, I can tell you that we did have one responsive applicant to our solicitation, and that a small subcommittee, myself, Mr. Rivera, Ms. Quinn Davidson, have done the preliminary review, and we will be sending to the procurement department an invitation to the bidder to come to our meeting on Thursday to do an interview with us and allow the committee members who show to ask probing questions and get a better sense of what their qualifications are. So this Thursday is a meeting and next Friday is a meeting, and I hope you can all attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Constant. Mr. Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a committee report. I'll be talking about the Ethics and Elections Committee at our meeting a week from now. But as far as being the last meeting of several of our members, I appreciate the time working with you, Mr. Chairman. Your experience and patience is shown through, and you've done a good job of leadership. And it was a pleasure working with Ms. Wemhoff over the last few months, and she's jumped right in and hit the ground running and done an excellent job representing her constituents in Eagle River. And Mr. Trainee, having just received my 5-year pin, it seems rather minimal compared to the 27 years that you've been serving here. But you'll definitely be missed. And I hope you enjoy your retirement and don't drink too much Coke.
And we'll come back around with the assembly comments so people can do it under this, or sort of we'll give them another shot as we come back down the line. But Mr. Trainee, Mr. Chairman.
No committee, sir. Well, wait till assembly comments. I've got a few things to say.
I bet you do.
And I don't have much time left, so give me a lot of time, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I won't put you on the clock. Mr. Rivera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So no committee report, Mr. Chair. I do have a couple of assembly comments. So first to my colleague from Eagle River, Ms. Wemhoff. It's been a pleasure serving with you. I've always appreciated your dedication, particularly to protect and be a champion for our public transit system. It's been amazing to see your work in such a short amount of time. To the chair, Mr. Croft, I really want to thank you for your leadership as the chair, and it's been a pleasure serving with you as the vice chair. And then to the chair, Mr. Trainee, I already said quite a few words at the last meeting, but I want to invite Senator Gray Jackson up to share a few words of her own.
We can do it now, or I did mean for us to do committee reports and then back on assembly comments, but they're somewhat in between. Okay. Austin's been hinting for a while to do it later. Okay, let's finish committee reports and we'll come back. Ms. LaFrance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No committee report today.
Ms. Quinn Davidson, do you have a committee report for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. LaFrance and I co-chair the Health Policy Committee, and we'll be having a meeting this Wednesday in room 155 at City Hall on the first floor from 12 to 1:30. And we'll be receiving an update from the Anchorage Health Department, and then also evaluating with them, hearing a report first of their policy recommendations related to substance misuse, and then doing an evaluation of possible policy recommendations, including Tobacco 21.
Thank you. Mr. Dunbar.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Weddleton.
Thanks. Last week, the Community and Economic Development Committee continued work on potential on-site consumption of marijuana rules. We will do that conversation again this coming Thursday, 9 a.m. at Public Works. We're also looking at a new marijuana license, a change in another marijuana license. We'll get a report on how the various marijuana operations are behaving. And we'll also take a look at Alaska Alchemist again and just get an update. That's been a complicated thing and want to see how we did on that. 9 a.m. Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Weddleton. So, Ms. Brodsky, then you'll get the double on this end, and we'll come back for comments. But you can do committee reports, comments, anything you'd like. And Ms. Brodsky just graduated from high school, right?
Yeah, I
You're out. Congratulations. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This weekend, April 20th, is Kids Day going on while Kids Day is happening. Teen City is also happening in City Hall and the City Hall parking lot. And everyone's invited. I'll be speaking at Kids Day, and it's a really great event. There's lots of resources for kids, for teens, and just a bunch of opportunities. And it's really fun, so I hope to see you all there. And now to assembly comments. I've been here for a very short time, but Mr. Trainee, you've been here for longer than I've been alive, so.
That is depressing, Dick, isn't it?
So that's really impressive, just gonna say that. Ms. Wemhoff, you've been here a little bit less than I have, and you've definitely adapted a lot faster than I have, and it's impressive and amazing. And I'm so lucky to serve at the same time as you. And Chair Croft, you've been amazing. You're so opinionated and outspoken, and hearing your kind of little grumbles once in a while is always fun. So thank y'all, and I hope to see you around the community.
Thank you, Mr. Brodsky. Mr. Weddleton.
Thanks. So it's been great working with all three of you who are leaving. And when I was campaigning, I asked my campaign team asked a photographer to come and take a picture, so they're using the campaign. And they said, "Oh, he's the guy way over on the left." And she misunderstood. They meant physically, and they ended up. She just took pictures of Eric. So I have one of Chair Croft that he may have. It's quite nice. It looks really good there. And I'll miss him. I think Eric brought a nice flavor to being chair, more than what you just see, up here. Now, Dick, a little something extra. In my world of pop culture, these little pop figures are quite popular. So we had one by famous Anchorage artist Ted Kincaid made one for Dick. So this is Dick Trainee, but being in the comic business, we have its interchangeable comments. So we have, as chair, because he is the chair, whether he's the chair or not. This is pretty typical. If you'd like to speak, come on down, and that's, we all know that, and that's usually good news if you've been waiting all night. Then you get the bad news. You have 3 minutes. Okay? And then once he's made a choice, he wants to tell us, all right, folks, it needs to happen. Sorry. And so she goes. And then, he's chair, so he says, what's the will of the body as we move on? Then, of course, we're also agreeable. Hearing no objection, that has passed. That happens all the time. Then he's, like Chuck Norris, he's kind of the Chuck Norris of the assembly. We all have to get at least 5 other people to agree with anything we do. With Dick Trainee, it's years ago, I passed an ordinance, he himself. And then, when in doubt, any meeting, actually several times in a meeting, if something comes up and maybe something went bad, the Sullivan administration would get acknowledged. And then, of course, most famously, folks, I'll be back.
Remember the last comment. John, I was right to cut you off after 3 minutes. That's cute.
Gretchen, sorry, I'm empty-handed and I feel so bad. But we'll be seeing you a lot anyway. I mean, they're going away and we'll never see them again. You will still be around, and I suspect back up here soon.
Thank you, Mr. Weddleton. Oh,
maybe with Dick next.
I didn't mean to cut him off. I can't tell when he's done. Mr. Dunbar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that's a tough act to follow. I don't have any toys for any of you, unfortunately. I'll start with you, Gretchen. I think I met you the first time you were running for State House, I believe, a number of years ago. And we bonded over the fact that I think you're related to Bill Stoltz somehow. But I was impressed. Yeah, I was impressed then, and I'm impressed now by your commitment to public service. It was just very clear from the moment I met you that you had that servant's heart that we talk about, and that you were passionate about certain things. And you're always so cheerful, and you care about buses more than almost anything else, incidentally. And so I do expect to see you again, either up here on the body or certainly as a member of the PTAB or some other organization. I'm glad that you seem to be committed to our municipality. I don't think you're going anywhere. So thank you so much for serving with us for these number of months that you were able to fill in that role.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're out of order, Ms. Wimhoff.
And I will always be.
Dick, Mr. Chairman, you know, when I first came on the body, you were the vice chair, or about to be, and Ms. Gray Jackson was the chair. Senator Gray Jackson was the chair. Oh, I thought I said Miss. Well, you're senator at any rate. Senator Gray Jackson. And I was sitting, I think right about where Ms. Wemhoff is, and I watched you. I watched you both, and I watched the way that you ran the meetings, and I was always very impressed by the way you treated the audience, the participants, with such respect, and the way that you managed the meeting. And then the next year, I got to be the vice chair, and you were the chair, and I really learned a tremendous amount from you. You know, whatever success I have had in my time as chair and on this body, I think I owe a significant chunk to your model. When I became the chair, you became a little less helpful. but only because you're so difficult to corral, because you're so opinionated and you're so passionate, and you do things. You say, "I'm doing this. Sorry." So at least you say sorry, but it doesn't stop you from doing it. But I appreciate that you're a bulldog for what you believe in. And I'm really going to miss having you at the University Community Council. That's the only community council that we overlap on. And I really appreciated your willingness to just tell it like it is. You know, sometimes I feel a need to sugarcoat things, and you're just like, nope, this is how it is. And you can take it or leave it. And I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for your example and for the legacy you leave for all of us. And the, you know, tomes worth of ordinances that you have passed that we will be working through for the next, you know, number of decades, I'm sure. And maybe you will be too, as once you come back to us. So Eric, certainly, you know, you and I have known each other a while, and I really appreciate having you as my vice chair when I was the chair. You have tremendous leadership abilities. You have tremendous vision, I think, and I always appreciated being able to bounce things off of you. And I'm really been impressed by your ability. I'm not surprised at all, but you stepped into being the chair, and you did it not easily. It's not an easy job for anyone, but you did it as well as anyone could do it. And obviously, you've been doing this a really long time. And I do remember some of the advice you gave me, some of the axioms that I am going to take with me for the rest of my life. When you have the votes, vote. That's a good one. And don't amend something you don't intend to vote for. I think those are both good words to live by. And so I want to thank you again for your guidance and for your mentorship and for your willingness to always take a stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Ms. Quinn Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gretchen, it's been a pleasure to have you here. Like Forrest said, you bring a lot of joy to this role. Your friendliness and warmth really is just brings a lot to the body. And quickly learned, being a new person myself, sort of impressed at how quickly you started asking the good questions and just really being engaged. So thank you. It'll be sad to see you go. And Dick, I'm so impressed with you because we already did this about you last meeting. So you have somehow doubled the amount of comments, just like your term. I'm just glad I got on here before you left, because I said this last week and I'll say it again. You're a legend on the Assembly, and we just have a lot of fun. And I'm going to miss teasing you and miss you teasing me and all of that. Speaking of teasing, that's sort of the basis of Eric and my relationship. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say to Eric, but yeah, thank you. Thanks for being my mentor, and just being a fierce advocate for West Anchorage. Thanks for sort of balancing me out. We're really different, but our cores are the same, and it makes us a great team. And just been my friend, and everyone loves you here, whether they agree with you or not. It's because you're a leader, and you're funny, and you have quick wit, and you guide people well. So we love you, and we'll miss you.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn Davidson. Ms. LaFrance?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Boy, I thought I knew what I was going to say until I listened to all of you. Wow. Gretchen, it's been a pleasure serving with you these last few months. And we were on the campaign trail a couple years ago, and it was always more fun with you, and it always is. And thank you for your support. You're always so positive, and I appreciate how dedicated you are to serving the people of Anchorage, not just your constituents, but you listen to everybody. Mr. Croft, Eric, it's also been a pleasure serving with you, and I'm very grateful to you for your help and for your generosity in sharing the wisdom of your experience being in serving at the state level and in the school board and here. And there were many times when I was a newbie. I think I don't have to refer to myself as a newbie anymore.
You're not
right?
anymore.
No, after 2 years. Where you really helped me figure out how to move through a situation or the system or a challenge we were dealing with. So definitely I'm grateful to you for your leadership. And Mr. Trainee, Mr. Chair, Dick, it's been an honor serving with you. I feel like you are living history, or I was living history. And your generosity in sharing your vast knowledge about the history of the municipality and previous mistakes of previous administrations. I'm not going to mention SAP. I felt like if maybe we weren't doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, at least we'd have a really vigorous conversation about it. And thank you for that. I wish you all the best, and I would say don't drink too much Coke, but actually I'm a little bit worried because that's the only thing I've ever seen you consume, so I brought you some.
Don't tell her, okay? Just not me, Sandy. It comes from everybody.
Mr. Vice Chair, did you want us to? Well, you can do it. Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will actually be calling up Senator Elvie Gray Jackson after the rest of the members get to comment. But I did want to do one thing, which was to present the gavel both to Mr. Croft. So he gets to have one of these gavels. Thank you so much. And then to Assembly Chair Trainee, he also gets to have one of these gavels. And I hear that you have a wall of these gavels already.
I have a few of them. If we need forest fire, I've got them. Thank you.
That's all the comments I have, Mr. Chair.
Mine lists the dates. Yours, all the dates can't fit. That's just, you have multiple gavels with multiple dates?
I do.
Okay, there you go. Now I understand. Mr. Trainee.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
I appreciate you guys putting up with me. I know it can be a little outrageous sometimes. But, you know, looking at history, I've studied a lot of Teddy Roosevelt. I don't know if you know Teddy Roosevelt as president. They could never
Did you know him?
They could never determine. Fred knew him.
Oh, okay.
They could never determine whether he was Republican or Democrat. And I've been accused of being both sides and somewhere in the middle. Good luck trying to figure out where I actually belong. But I've had fun working with everybody. I know I get blamed every now and then for dumping on the Sullivan administration. But quite frankly, when you've got a computer program that starts at 9.6 million and ends at 85, and then you say you're fiscal conservative, give me a break. Anyway, sorry. But I've enjoyed working with all of you people. I've enjoyed working with him too. He said last week that I cut him after 3 minutes. It was good to have him on because he fills a real role, having been on the zoning board for a while. He knows the ins and outs of the planning process, zoning process. We need him on the body. And Forrest, you were fun to work with. Thanks for putting up with me. I know sometimes I try and push things. I'm sorry, you've got two roles in the assembly. You can either be a potted plant or you can be out there pushing things. I've tried to push things as I came on this assembly. And by the way, I left you guys an ordinance to deal with, introduced them in the last meeting, deal with the next one. That's my parting gift to you guys. And Austin, it's been fun to play with you. You're a great person. It'd be fun to see what you do the rest of your time on the body, but it's been fun to work with you. And it's been fun. You know, I remember when you ran in South Anchorage, you weren't sure what you were going to do because you've got a family you've got to take care of. And that's all that really matters is your family, because nothing else really matters other than your family loves you when you get home. And I think they will. Barbara, you've been a great clerk. You've been a great ombudsman. You've been a great everything you do. You're the focal point of the assembly, Barbara. I've seen you go from precinct voting to voting by mail. You've done it so successfully and seamlessly. The public doesn't really understand what you went through to pull this thing off. But Barbara, you're the mainstay of this assembly. You let the chairmen on both sides, no matter who it is, play as their chairman, but you're the one that controls the board, and you control what's happening up here. And anytime we think we're in charge, we're wrong. I appreciate what you do. Eric, it's been fun working with you. I asked when you came on, I asked my son Sean what you were like, because you worked with Sean for a while in the prosecutor's office. I said, tell me about Eric, because I didn't know you before you came on here. So Sean helped me with some things I needed to know about you. He was absolutely right. I appreciate working with you. Felix, you were the one that was responsible for my 2013 election. And you've been great on this summer. It's been fun working with you. And thanks for running my election in 2013, because you came over to my family and came to some of our family meetings. And first of all, he was worried he was going to get shot or something. But it was fun having you there.
Electrocuted, maybe? Yeah.
It could have been. Or the flamethrower. We could have had some fun with him. But Pete, you've been on for a while, and it's great to now you become the oldest sitting assembly member. You realize that? Experience. Not Fred, you.
Oh, experience.
Experience on this current body. It's been great to work with you over the years. And Chris, nothing will stop you. It's fun to watch you, because you don't have an off button. You're like the Energizer Bunny Rabbit, which I appreciate having you on here, because I'm leaving the body. And I can't think of a better person to cause agitation and get things done than you. If you ever need any advice, let me know. I'm not going away. I've heard some people say he's going away. I'm not. I'll be at your meetings, by the way, okay? I'll be out in the audience. I know I've got 3 minutes. Those things. It's been great to watch you since you came on here. Representative Igor Chugak. Sometimes Igor Chugak doesn't feel they get a fair shift in being part of Anchorage. I've talked to different people that said, we don't like coming into Anchorage. I keep trying to tell them, if I put your name and your address, I leave the rest of it off and put the zip code, it still gets delivered to you. And Fred and I dealt with this over the years. I remember voting for the Eagle River Borough, back when we created our own borough. Remember that time period? We, for a while, were our own city, but when they did the analysis, it just didn't work out economically. We've got to figure out how we can bring Eagle River and Chugach more in to what we consider the bowl of Anchorage. And I'll be around. I'd like to help you do that, because I used to live out there. At the end of the road, up the hill, I know what it was like. Before the road was paved, we lived out there. Cindy can tell you stories about driving the car with a snowplow on it. When that whole road was dirt, you had to make sure you were first in line so you actually got home at night. But I really like you, Chugach. If I ever move anywhere, I'm going to move back to your area. I thought I'd warn you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Trainee, your time's up.
I know. I will. Barbara, hit the button. Ignore it. Fred, you were on the body when I came on the body, and you came back. And it's great to have you here. I always like having somebody older than me on the assembly. But I always knew where you were coming from on issues. You know? So I appreciate that. And my dear Elvie, you lied to me. You told me you had meetings today in Juneau. I do. In Juneau. Thanks for showing up. And now I find my family didn't tell me you were coming in. I'll talk to them later. But thank you, Elby. It was fun working with you over the years. You went from being staff to an assembly member to chairman of the assembly. You've done a great job on anything you ever decided you wanted to do. We share a lot of history together. Thank you very much for working with me. And Dean Gates, I'm saving a comment for you. You're the most important function we have on the assembly is our legal aid, legal attorney you. Because before, when Bill Green was city attorney, I would see issues come in with TF at the top. And I asked Bill Green, I said, what is that? He says, Tom Figg's signature. I don't give you anything he hasn't approved to give to you. I want an attorney that gives us the unvarnished truth. And that's why we moved your position to our office, so that we get absolute truth out of you. Because we're a separate branch of government. I don't care who the mayor is, we're a separate branch of government. So I appreciate the fact you work for each one of us, all 11 of us. And we never have to worry about who you work for, because you put your whole soul and heart into what you're producing for us. And I've asked you over the years to do some crazy things. And I appreciate it, because you always did it right on time. I've got nothing left for you to do for me. But thank you, Dean. It's been great having you work with us. Brian, you're around here somewhere? There you are. I wanted to thank you for all you do, because we've had some full houses here. One time we had about 900 people in here, and it was crazy. We had people standing everywhere. You handled all of that really well. And so I appreciate all your work, because sometimes they don't really appreciate what you do maintaining order and discipline in this body. But thank you very much, Brian. And to my dear wife, thank you, dear. A little crazy over the years. But we decided to raise a family here and grandchildren here. So I appreciate you putting up with me. Now you got honeydew projects. I'm not saying I'm going to get them done. Because who knows, I may be back. I think I've been back 3 times now. There is no going away. I'll be at your meetings because I want to see how this assembly develops. I'm concerned about where the state is taking this assembly. When I see them cutting off school bonding, and saying, hey, we promised you in the past, but guess what? Now it's your problem to pay it, because we're not going to do it. When I see them retrenching, and Forrest, I remember your ringing indictment of this particular administration. You were right on track on that, because they're going to balance the state budget on the backs of the citizens of Anchorage, and that really worries me. So hopefully you guys will not take it laying down. You guys will stand up to them and say, you guys are absolutely crazy. So anyway, that's all we got, Mr. Chairman. I'll shut up now. Fade into the sunset.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it.
Thank you.
Standing ovation for finishing talking, Mr. Trainor.
You what?
A standing ovation for stopping talking. That's great.
Yeah, there's some in here that may talk. We can do it for them, too.
All right. Mr. Peterson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I pretty much said what I was going to say earlier, but I was going to mention that I am going to miss you sitting next to me, Dick. But I'm not going to miss the canes, because I never know if it's the one that's got the electric bolt in it, and so. But it might be an accident, Thank you.
Or the flamethrower. Mr. Constant.
Thank you. So, Ms. Wemhoff, I think my words of choice for you will be fierce determination. That is what you bring to the questions before you, and I appreciate the work you've done. And I, like my peers, agree we have not yet seen the end of your work. So thank you for your commitment. And it's a hard thing to come in here and work through this process that's arcane and overwhelming with demands from every direction. So thank you. And Eric, you have a way of making heavy work light, because this work is heavy. Some days it seems like it's easy, but when you really get down to it, the work we're doing is burdensome. And always someone gets hurt. And you and I have had some pretty passionate disagreements, and we've had some really good times working together, and I'm really grateful for that. And I look forward to seeing where your light moves next. Mr. Trainee, first, Sandy, thank you for sharing your husband with us and also having the sense not to follow him. And, Dick, I appreciate the kind of... Actually, I queued something up. This will say it best. Here. Sorry for the use of technology, but I'm just going to do it. Hopefully we don't get a commercial. 1 second, 3 seconds. I didn't want to start it before because it would make noise. Okay, here we go.
I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Regrets.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you. Ms. Wimmer.
Thank you. I once mentioned to the different members here how I felt like I was on the end of a fire hose when I first showed up. But when I first started, and it was only 3.5, not quite 4 months ago, I was amazed at how gracious and kind and supportive the staff is. I mean, immediately, man, they had me hooked up. They did this, they did that. They were so nice. I was feeling like, oh my gosh, and they're, oh no, we got this, we've got this. And that was my first observation joining the assembly, was how amazing the staff is that works for this body, that works for the municipality. Heaven knows you don't get paid enough. So I know you do it because you believe in yourself and you believe in your job. And so I just want to put that out there. I mean, they even went through all the candy and took out anything that had peanuts in it for my term. So I don't know where they put them. But I don't know, John. They might get it back out for you on that. And I'll just start down here. Lily, the favorite words you have ever said are, I agree with Miss Wemhoff. And I appreciate, being a table tennis player, your voting procedure. Is red yes? Oh, black is yes. That's okay. Oh, well, that's a definite no when it's on red. And so I am excited for your future because you have just a mind way beyond your years and a sense of commitment. And I've just really been impressed every time you say something. I'm going, wow. Wow. I mean, wow. Mr. Weddleton, I went to a little bookstore, a comic book store the other day, because I was looking for a bobblehead with a gray suit, and I couldn't find one, but I did buy a book for my granddaughter, and she's happy as she can be, and I will say it was really nice to see that side. And that has to take a fun, creative mind to even start there. And I want to say I appreciate you, even when we were looking at things differently. You just have a really nice way of looking at things very logically and very succinctly. And I love that you throw it out there, even if you know you're not going to win. It's like, hey, I got that. So, what was that?
I always thought I was going to win.
Well, self-concept. So, you are a winner, though. And Forrest, you're right. We started when you were running for Congress, and I ran. Of course, you won an election. I haven't won yet, but I won an appointment, and I liked that. It was a lot less expensive, so I didn't have to knock on as many doors. But I've appreciated your friendship and also your mind for seeing things. I'll be sitting next to you, and you'll all of a sudden just clue into something and say something, and it's so logical, and it makes so much sense, and it's almost like I can see these little cogs going in your brain, and they're so well oiled. So I appreciate the way you think on that. And that leads me, of course, to Miss to Austin. Another brain that does the same thing. I'm going, wow, I didn't think of that. How'd she think of that? Well, it's because you're younger. Your brain's a little better. But I love your appreciation for mornings or not having mornings. I love that whenever we had to have a morning at 8:30, she'd go, oh, but Gretchen would have to drive in. And I was always, that's when you became my favorite. It was like, let's let Gretchen not drive in early in the morning. So I've had so much fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys more on this end. Suzanne, man, we became friends sitting next to each other in debates, and I can't tell you what I said to her, but she was a little nervous about speaking, and I've absolutely loved watching you come into your own on this assembly. I mean, you just have a very professional, kind, intelligent way of doing things that when you start talking, I think everyone just stops. And you may not believe in yourself as much as the rest of us do, but you have a future. And I got to go to Barbara, because if without Barbara, I could not have done anything. Seriously, definitely seriously. And we have the same alma mater for our bachelor's, the University of Denver, go Pioneers. And I can't say the other things we say because I'm in public, but some of the fun stuff. But I do appreciate all of your time helping me in my little emails to you saying, no, I went to Diamond Mears Junior Senior High, not Mears Middle School, and little things that made me feel old. I realized, oh, some people didn't know that there used to be a junior high or of that nature. So thank you for everything you've done, and your staff. You have an amazing group. Okay, so Eric, our parents knew each other. We didn't know each other, but our parents did. My mom campaigned for you, and my dad campaigned for whoever was running against your dad. So we had both their signs in our yard. That was just kind of the way I grew up. And then I got to meet your son, and I'm sorry, he set the bar high. You definitely are an amazing parent. For that matter. But thank you for your patience with me as I've tried to figure out if I should be talking or not be talking, or what word to use, or was that what I was supposed to say. I was all over the place back here, and quite frankly, if it wasn't for Mr. Constant, who I'd go, what does it mean when I want to? And he'll give me the word. So thank you for your patience.
You took advice from Mr. Constant?
Well, later on I realized that it got me in trouble a couple of times. And we'll get to him in a moment. And Felix, thank you for everything. Thank you for giving me a crash course on a few things that I needed, especially when the first thing you do, you get appointed, and then you have to vote on a tax, and you're from Chuquiaquiga River. And it just kind of was like, wow. But it was not difficult because it made a lot of sense to me. And so there was no problem there. So thank you for everything. I know we will be friends for a long time. Mr. Trainee, sometimes I think you're the only person that I got angry at me. But, all you need is a Coca-Cola and some TLC, and you're right back into being that teddy bear. So I appreciate your knowledge and everything, and your patience with me as well. As I was learning this. So thank you, and I've seen you up here for so long that I'm not sure. They almost need to put something on the wall. Just this, put something on the back of the chair. This Dick Trainee was here. Yeah. And Pete has been incredibly helpful when I was going to community councils at the Northeast Community Council, because people don't always go there from my district. And Pete and Forrest kind of had my back on that. And so, Pete, you've been very helpful, very friendly, and even from before I was appointed, I appreciate your honesty and your hey, go do it type thing. And then there's Mr. Constant. Do you know what it's like to sit between these two? I mean, there are things I'll never tell you what happened, but they know. They know. So, Mr. Constant, I am serious about that. I don't know how many times I've turned to you and I've said, when should I do this? Or what should I do? Or what are the words? And you think really fast and you go, ugh. And most of the time it was the right thing. Almost every time. Yeah. There was only one time that we had a disagreement and we got over that. But it was fair. But I've loved sitting next to you. I love your sense of humor, and I do love that bunny rabbit energy. And I did learn eventually that I shouldn't follow your lead. But whenever I had to go to the bathroom, it was like, dang, I got to the bathroom. He's like, Mr. Chair, can we have a 5-minute break? So thank you for making sure I got my bathroom breaks. That was I appreciate that. And Fred, oh my goodness. Fred and I have known of each other, and now we've become better friends. I think, Crystal, if you end up sitting next to him, it will be interesting. It will be fun, and you'll have some good conversations. But thank you for your support. Thank you for some of the conversations we've had, the lessons we've had. I love that you read a lot, and we can talk about literature, and we talk about communication. And I have enjoyed sitting up here next to you, even though you beat me in the first election. You know, that didn't matter, because that's what we do. We compete for a seat because we all care. And it doesn't matter who wins or loses. We were doing it because we cared. And I guess I'll just stop there and say I have had one of the most amazing 3.5 months. And I feel so grateful and honored to have had an opportunity to do this. I mean, who gets to do this? You know, and then quit when you're starting to get tired. You know? So I've had fun. I've learned a great deal. I can't imagine a better experience. So thank you all for voting me in, and thank you all for listening. Did I talk as long as Mr. Trainee?
Almost.
Almost.
You want to set the record, or?
No, well, I'm capable. But yep. I will say, Crystal, I think you're going to do a fine job, and I'm very honored to be able to hand this over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wimhoff. Senator Dyson, you have the last word in this segment. Surprise move. Madam Clerk, do we have any addendum or any item before Special Orders 15?
No, Mr. Chair. I think Mr.
Do we?
may have
Oh, that's right. I did. That'd be fine, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So now I would like to ask Senator Gray Jackson to come up and present and speak about Mr. Trainee, the chair.
You need to come down here. I have something.
Do what you're told, Dick. Go on down there.
Thank you, Mr.
Leave shocking cane.
Chairman. And I have to tell you, I'm not going to say too much because I get too emotional. I've been on TV crying too many times. I can't have this happen today. And I'm just really happy I was able to surprise you. And thank you to those who didn't tell them. So,
You're right. Do we read?
Well, we're not going to read the whole thing, so don't worry. As a matter of fact, we're not going to read any of it. I just want to take the honor to present to you from the Alaska Legislature a citation for all your hard work and your many years of service. And we love you, Dick.
Thank you, Elby. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't have anything else to say. I can't.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Regular agenda, consent agenda, or old business. We're down to special orders, item 15A, certification of the April 2nd, 2019 regular municipal elections. Can I get a motion, Mr. Vice Chair?
Move to certify the April 2nd, 2019 regular municipal election.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Is there anything you wanted to say about the report we have before us, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chair, I would, and I think the most important thing is that we have an amazing team working on this. And I think many of you know Amy Solberg, our election coordinator, Anna Campione, our outreach and education director. So thank you. Carissa Sleppy from the clerk's office has covered for us. Sam Harris is in the audience. She's worked in a variety of capacities. And then our election commission is here. And would the election commission please stand so that the assembly could see who you are? Thanks. Suzanne is not standing. Thank you. Joyce Anderson, Glennis Ireland, and Cindy Hawkins. We couldn't do this without these people, and there were probably about 60 other people that worked with us, long hours, hard work, counting a lot, and I thank you all for everything that you've done.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I'm looking at your memo. Was this the highest turnout? 28%, 28.65?
It is the highest recent turnout. We looked at our other mayoral elections, and those are in 2016 and 2017. So the turnout for this election was higher than those last two poll-based elections.
Thank you. 65,000, more than 65,000 ballots returned.
The number is actually even more significant. That the percentage is fairly close. I think the 65,000, the other numbers were around 50,000 and 49,000. So the actual number is quite a bit higher.
Congratulations. Thank you. Shall we set up the board for a vote on it?
You have a member in the queue.
I've still got a comment, Mr. Chairman.
I see Mr. Trainee, and then I'll recognize Mr. Constant. Mr. Trainee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the clerk staff, Barbara, but also Amy and all of you. Thanks so much for doing this. And I want to thank Dennis Wheeler, because Dennis Wheeler worked there extensively to make sure this election worked correctly. On our first one, he did that, and this one, he really got into it many times to make sure it ran smoothly. But this election should be the model for the state to adopt, because that old system they're using at the state level is dying. They've got to go to a new system. This new system does work. I think we've got the capacity to handle at least part of their election could be done at our facility. Because Barbara and everybody and Amy, Dennis, they put together a great system that works. When I first ran in 91, before some of you were born, we wouldn't get till 5 or 6 in the morning before the precincts came in. Now, how fast is it? We don't even have Election Central. It's that fast. They're there when you need the results in. So I appreciate everybody's work to make that happening efficiently. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Trainee. Any other member who would like to speak on this item? I don't see any, so members may proceed to vote on certification of the April 2nd, 2019 regular municipal election.
Oh, who did I miss? Let me double check that. Someone, let's see.
Did you have a problem voting, Mr. Dunbar?
Oh, Mr. Dunbar. Okay, it just popped him out. We're going to redo that, all right?
Let's all revote then.
Okay. Just a second. Let's see.
I'm waiting for it.
Okay, we'll try that again.
One more time.
There we go.
The election has been certified 11-0.
We're off the body.
I think they have
Skip,
to take
leave.
the oath. Stay one more thing. They got to take the oath, and then you're officially gone. So the newly elected assembly members, both re-elected and elected, please come to the podium. And we have Meredith Montgomery, the clerk of the appellate courts, to administer the oath of office. Thank you for being here.
Come on up.
They're being shy now.
Family members, you can come right down front and get photos. They can. I mean,
They're in alphabetical order.
where do they want to go?
You all ready? If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States the Constitution of the State of Alaska and the Charter of the Municipality of Anchorage, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of Anchorage Assembly Member to the best of my ability. Congratulations and welcome to the Anchorage Assembly.
We'll go ahead, take a quick 3-minute break, and ask the new members to come take their seats.
I won't be gone long. Just call it.
With our agenda. So we are now at item 15C, Assembly Reorganization. Mr. Dunbar.
I move to reorganize the Anchorage Assembly.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any opposition? All right, seeing none, that motion passes unanimously.
I'm still in the queue.
Mr. Dunbar.
I nominate Felix Rivera for chair of the Anchorage Assembly.
I actually think that the clerk will administer the election and will ask for nominations.
Oh, apologies.
Just 1 second here. Through the chair, the code actually indicates that the clerk is to call the roll of all members duly elected and certified. So we will do a new roll call. Mr. Weddleton.
Here.
Mr. Dunbar.
Here.
Ms. Quinn Davidson.
Here.
Ms. LaFrance.
Here.
Mr. Rivera.
Present.
Mr. Peterson.
Present.
Mr. Constant.
Here.
Mr. Dyson. Here. Ms. Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. Perez Verdia.
Here.
And Ms. Zalatel.
Here.
You have a quorum. And now, Mr. Chair, I see that we have a motion and a second to reorganize, and that is properly before the body. And I believe that there was there no opposition to that motion?
There was none, Madam Clerk.
Of course, we don't have a motion for reconsider in our system, so we will, or to reorganize in our system, so we are going to have something a little different. And that was, oops,
8.
My new people didn't get to vote on that.
That's right.
The clerk's office will correct that. Mr. Chair, the code then says that the clerk shall administer the election of the chair and the vice chair, and it shall be in the following manner. Nominations shall be heard from as many members of the assembly as shall desire to make them. And I am ready to take nominations, and I believe you had called on Mr. Dunbar, however you would like to proceed.
Sure, Mr. Dunbar.
I nominate Felix Rivera for chair of the Anchorage Assembly.
We second? Does that take seconds, or you just vote?
No second.
You wouldn't get seconds.
I think there are there any additional nominations? Hearing no other nominations, Mr. Rivera is the chair. The nominations are open for vice chair.
I move Suzanne LaFrance for vice chair. Nominate. Sorry.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing no other nominations, Ms. LaFrance is vice chair.
And now cake.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for administering the election. Moving on in our agenda to audience participation. Would anyone in the audience like to testify? Come on up, Mr. Haywood.
I would note that 45 seconds has passed from when he established his intent to speak when he turned on his clock. That's Mr. Constant.
Thank you, Mr. Constant.
What was it? What did he just say?
Sir, your time is running, so if you would...
Yeah, this is out of order. My name is Eugene Carl Hayman. I just started the time. When are you ever going to be respectful? State law requires a reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard. It's not the Open Meetings Act. When the Election Commission met, and they had two meetings, one was a work session on that 12th, where there was no public comment. The next, where they moved around, handled envelopes. The next one was approximately 5:30 that evening. They allowed public comment after they agreed and signed off. That is in contempt. And you, as a body, with respect, with the exceptions of the newly elected, the previous assembly members were facing here in this evening, they're no longer facing here to the public, failed to have a reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard. Now, what are the issues that have not been addressed, that I have addressed at certain meetings and also before the assembly prior to certification, and in fact the previous Tuesday? The state law that both APOC and the municipal clerk in charge of election failed to ensure to comply with a certain state law, and one name of the school board should have been removed. Because of time limited, I'm not saying the law, I'm just going on to that fact there and go on to other issues. This is, eighth or ninth election that I've witnessed. And my closing remarks in 2012 are the same remarks I'll say here. No one won that election, everyone lost, and the same thing here has happened. This report, was not in here is this, and I did take a video during the Election Commission work session. They did the same exact thing. Not all commissioners looked at the envelopes that would be formed to reject. Certain envelopes were looked at. Some commissioners, others were not. The public expects that all commissioners look at all those envelopes to determine or not to reject them. I took a video, and it was noted, and it showed an example where they did a shell game. That same thing that happened in a previous election, which I raised concern, but unfortunately, the assemblies before had the same schedule. Violating state law, you certify the election, oath of office, break, change names, and then you allow the public to speak. This is not right, and more people know it's not right. And I'll leave with this comment here with 23 seconds to spare. You need to respect the public. The way I was handled going up here is an example where public members have witnessed the disrespect. You need to not prejudice proceedings. You need to look and be open when there's public hearings and not have those sidebars out there and make decisions and then have a public hearing.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say. Any questions?
There appear to be none. Thank you. Mr. Weddleton.
Just to my colleagues here, it is very nice of you to throw a party for Mr. Haberman in the back there.
Thank you, Mr. Weddleton.
Correction, that's not my party.
All right. Would anyone else like to testify? Okay. Seeing none, I just want to make some final comments before we adjourn and can enjoy some cake. I'm reminded recently of a speech by then Assembly Chair Gray Jackson, now Senator Gray Jackson, in which she talked about what it means to be the chair. And she talked about why you want to be the chair and doing it for the right reasons. And I just want to make sure that we are operating effectively and collegially and for the benefit of our constituents and for the people of Anchorage. I'll be sending out an updated seating chart and committee assignments. I'm going to ask members if you'd like to change any assignments or liaisons, please communicate those through the clerk, and I will take a look at those. And lastly, I just want to say welcome to our new members, and you are now part of this assembly journey to represent the people of Anchorage. So welcome. And with that, I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting.